I got my main man.
Hey, Steve. It's so good to be back in the studio.
Welcome back.
A couple weeks out for medical and things, and I think I explained a couple weeks ago what was going on with me and everything. So, made it through the second procedure. We're doing good. We're on schedule. Yay. Still tender. Still trying to get back to normal. So sitting in a chair is not too bad, but sitting a long time is a little bit tough still. So, but hey, we're doing good. We're on schedule with everything the doctor wanted to do. Yeah. And we get to come back and talk.
Well, you look good.
Thank you.
Good. I'm
feeling good.
Worried about you.
I'm still sore. Still, still got a lot of ways to go. But probably about 3 or 4 weeks, and I'll be kind of back to normal. But gotta get out and walk. That's what the doctor told me. Get out and walk. So,
well, that does help in any time when you're trying to heal, that's for sure.
Yep. Move the muscles.
So, Mark, there's been a lot going on in politics since you last were online. We had, obviously, the Democratic convention happened. There was a lot of stuff going on with Walz. You and I had our last conversation about Walz. We went into a lot of details about all that. But, it's like the news cycle has ended on that, and they're all moving forward. But what is new is the flip-flop of the floppiest flipping I've ever flopped in my flip before. I have never in my life. You've been there for 4 years, and now you want to make a difference on all the same issues. Now, they did this when they ran for president. They said, we will not shut down the oil line in Pennsylvania. They said that to every Pennsylvania.
They said that they would not close down the fracking in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And then they said that they weren't going to, they weren't going to affect oil production in the U.S. When they shut down the pipeline, they've restricted fracking in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has two of the largest deposits that they're large deposits of oil, but they're hard to get out of the ground without fracking. And so fracking allows them to go in and get that oil and bubble it up to where they can get to it. Mm-hmm. And it's done fairly safely. I mean, there's been some instances here or there, but those instances got exploded into something like, it's kind of like the reason that we don't have a lot of wide-ranging nuclear power in the United States anymore, is because we have 3 Mile Island happened, and everybody panicked. And as bad as that seemed to be, it wasn't that bad. But there were already movies and things coming out from Hollywood, against nuclear energy, nuclear electricity generation. And the thing is because of that, because of all the timing of that, they put these restrictions on nuclear energy that have actually created basically almost a ban on it, so that in the United States it's very difficult for them to try new things. And so what happens is now some of our companies that are working on things they're going to China and setting up new reactors and things in China. And there's a lot of great safe options out there now that they've come up with that would eliminate the issues that you would have had at Chernobyl or 3 Mile Island. But that's a long way. I mean, but the same people want us to go. The exact same group wants us to go, off of fossil fuels, and it's like you can't have it both ways. We have to have energy in order for us to survive. Do we all want to go back to the days when you had to have a campfire outside, right? No, we don't want to do that.
Well, we learned how to do a campfire inside. I mean, you don't have to go outside.
But you know what I mean? Not every house has it. But right now, not every house, most houses don't have fireplaces.
I'd have a cooking stove, Mark, and a big kitchen fireplace where I make my fire and hold my pot right over the top of that fire, Mark.
But you know what I'm saying? So now,
I do know what you're saying.
We can go back to the old Ben Franklin wood-burning stoves and things, I guess. But, then they'll get mad at us for deforesting because we had to use the wood to to cook our meals and things.
You can grow a tree faster than you can grow oil or water.
Well, that's not necessarily untrue there, but it's there's because they make oil and stuff out of corn all the time, right? Mm-hmm. There's vegetable oils and things like that they're using. They've been working on using those ethanols and things like that to make other types of fuel, but basically speeding up nature's processes. But what do we do if you can't get the oil out of the ground and you have an administration that says no, we're not going to have fracking, but then Kamala Harris comes back and says, well, I'm not against fracking, but then she didn't just say she was, she didn't just raise her hand. She's absolutely said that she will ban fracking. She said it just like that in those words.
I love that she does it. So I love that. Well, first of all, the left-wing media, has been, very, people change and blah, blah, blah. But I love all the side-by-sides that Fox News did and some of the other right-wing news media outlets, because they got her saying it, no, we're not. I will do it all day long. You know what I mean? Side by side in a video.
The thing is that when you're in an election season, you can't believe anything that is said.
There's only been one candidate that I've ever watched that actually did what they said they were going to do, and that's been Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. That's only one.
Yeah.
And whether Republican or Democrat for years and years and years, Donald Trump's the only one that I can remember that did. Reagan did quite a bit of what he said he was going to do.
I'm actually going to give Barack Obama credit. He said he was gonna strip oil. He did it.
Yeah.
He said he was going to create more social programs, and a short intro for socialism. And he always conveyed how much he loved Marxism. He was a fanatic of it in his college years. So I would say
people forget that Marxism is actually a theory.
It is.
It's absolutely never happened naturally, and it was supposed to be. Marxism says that that communism is the natural next step past capitalism. Mm-hmm. That it's the natural next step, but it's never happened naturally in any system or social community. It's always gone to capitalism. Capitalism has always been the driver of how do you keep economies going and how do you keep communities going and grow, because you have to be able to produce within the community, and then you have to be able to sell what you produce to within the community and outside the community.
Yeah.
And those are the keys, and those are the things that worry me about China. Is China right now is eating our production lunch, right? They're producing everything. We keep just buying it. But if you're not actually producing it within the United States and paying United States workers to do those jobs, then you're saying that China ultimately China is going to own us in that regard, and we have to find a way to protect our workers. And this is an ebb and flow thing. It's not like putting a tariff on something is something that should happen forever and ever, but you should be looking at what's going on in the United States. Where are we deficient on jobs and things, and apply tariffs strategically. I think that's one thing that Donald Trump does very well. Is he looks and says I'm not going to tariff everything, but I'm going to tariff those things that we should be doing those things here, and keeping those jobs closer to home. And so that we're paying American workers to do to produce American goods. Mm-hmm. Eventually it comes back that way no matter what. Even if the only way, as long as we can protect ourselves enough, and keep from being overtaken by another country, or what have you, which is we're still the strongest military in the world. So right now we're okay.
Yeah.
But if we get to the point where we don't have the money, bless you.
Thank you.
If we don't have the money to maintain the military and be able to and maintain our edge in technology.
Yeah, great article this week on reserves, oil reserves.
Oh yeah.
So John Clower.
I read that in the paper, and I was super stoked about the way he approached it.
Non-political.
It was non-political. No,
just the fact.
Just the fact that we did these things. You can't really in a nutshell, you can't really release the reserve just to control oil prices. You have or fuel prices. You have to use the reserve. The reserve is meant to make sure that we can fight a war when a war comes, and that's so that we don't get bogged down. But one thing I do want to, one issue I did have with it is I think the United States produces enough oil to supply the United States and then some. We still have that capability. We've just under the current regime we've pushed away from that. We've regulated that out a little bit to where we can't really get to the oil as easily as we should be able to, and therefore we started buying more oil overseas, bringing it here and processing it. And if you listen to Donald Trump talk about it, he'll tell you that a lot of the oil that we were buying from Venezuela and these other countries that were supposedly against the socialist regimes, that when we buy that oil, that oil is not easily refined.
Yeah.
That it's not sweet crude. It's more of a what do they call it? Almost like a tar that has to be broken down further before you can actually process it into fuels. And so that's a shame, right? And it means that we're paying more for our oil. We're not only buying it outside, but we're paying more to process it. Donald Trump just said that his goal was to get fuel prices, gas prices in the United States back under $2 a gallon. He says that he thinks he can do that fairly quickly by opening up the reserves. The other thing I heard today, did you hear this? That he's talking about. I think this came from Trump, and if I'm wrong, somebody let me know. But I heard that he's looking at the possibility of opening up public lands to build low cost housing, to allow people to come in and get the land, access the land, and build on it at a lower rate, to let them naturally build these communities. Where people can come and bring their skills and stuff to.
Who's that? I
think it was Trump that actually said it this week. I heard it this morning.
Hold on.
It's interesting stuff because if you think about they said something about the United States has about 50% of the land in the United States is actually owned by the United States. When you figure all the parks and military reservations and things like that exist. But, growing up around here, we've had Fort Knox here for years. There was years ago, they'd rebuilt, taking down the old apartments and stuff like that on post and put up like patio homes and things. And a lot of people wondered, a lot of those patio homes went, empty for a long time. I think they're all filled up now. But it was like, why couldn't you have taken that at that point, sold it to veterans and especially disabled vets that need a good home or what have you, and put together programs like that would help them, that would fill those things up, as well as make a little cash back into the coffers. But I haven't, like I said, I just heard it this morning. I didn't hear the whole story.
So I know that there's pros and cons to that. Obviously, the environmentalists are up in arms for protected lands and stuff like that. That are
of course.
But there's the desert lands. But they're scenic and they're beautiful, but they are vast, and you need infrastructure to build out there because you
had to build reservoirs and you had to pipe water in from somewhere else.
It's been done before, but that's near growing cities like El Paso's of Texas, and the Odessas and Midlands.
Doesn't Los Angeles get water from Nevada?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't come all the way through the aquifers from out in Nevada.
Yep. So I mean, each of those have their own problem sets, of course. But I mean, I get it. But we are, how do you develop low cost housing? Am I willing to move to a place that's out in the middle of nowhere? What industry is there for me to do?
No, I mean that's part of it. It would have to be an opportunity zone as well. I think that there would have to be an entire structure around. Building, and this might go along with what he was talking about when he was saying he was going to build these federal cities. Yeah, that would have they would be basically incubators for
business
for new business and for entrepreneurs to come and people would be able to build their houses there. They'd be able to build their own cities naturally. Just taking the government out of the way, because the number one thing about Republicans versus Democrats is Republicans think that we need to get the government, and most of us as Republicans believe that we need to get the government completely out of our way, deregulate, remove a lot of the regulations. We think that there's still good environmental regulations, but there are regulations that are put in place just to hamper growth. And hamper us from being able to.
If you stop doing this, my business will grow.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's better for the environment.
Well, I mean, and then, you're looking at. Let's go back to another policy decision that, economic policy decision that Kamala Harris has been talking about, is taxing. She wants to tax your unrealized gains.
Yep.
So if you have a business, right?
Reparations too.
Right.
For people who weren't born during slavery and are not related to anyone that was a slave.
Well, the biggest problem is you can't prove who was related to slaves.
Because of
Again, these are trying. She's trying to grab She's trying to grab the colored people's votes back in, whether that's brown,
that was
black.
just an Al Sharpton deal that
it is.
That was published.
It is, but it's a. But she's realized that she doesn't have she doesn't have the strong arm on the black
Trump
vote
has
anymore.
The black voter.
I think he's seeing, especially the black male, and he's making inroads with Hispanics and Hispanic and religious.
Females. I believe he's making inroads with the females too.
He does. He is, but but his biggest jumps have been in people of color, male people of color. But let me tell you about this. So the taxing somebody's unrealized gains will kill the small business.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I can look at my small business and say, well, my small business is worth, when we first started, it was negative, right? Because we had loans and things, right? Where we had to buy equipment and stuff.
Did you see the promise for giving out $50,000 small business loans?
Yeah, low and no interest loans to small businesses. Again, I'm not against those type of policies.
So I'm going to borrow money to pay the taxes that I'm about to pay. And, oh, by the way, I'm on the bag for another bill that I can't afford. So essentially, we're going to tax you, but you don't have to pay it all at once. Just make sure you use this money to pay your tax bill.
Yeah, and so it's a circular. And it's not a zero-sum game because you still owe the money.
Yeah.
Whether you have to, just because it's a zero, it may be a zero. Interest loan, it's still a loan that you have to pay back. And then, oh, by the way, next year they're going to evaluate the value of your property and say, but go beyond your businesses. What about your homes? Right?
Yeah.
Right. So if you look and say, okay, your house is worth, your house is worth $100,000, right? And now, 5 years later, 4 years later, it's worth $150,000, or let's make it more realistic. Your house is worth $200,000, and 5 years later, it's worth, at this point, like $300,000 or more. You had a 50% increase over a 4-year period, and now that means you're going to have to pay on that $100,000. If it went from $120,000. $200,000 to $250,000 in a year, then that $50,000 she wants to tax that, and she wants to tax it at like 25%.
No, I know.
So she wants to say, oh, well, you have to now pay the government unrealized earnings on the value of the property that you've been investing in and trying to build its value. And now in order for you to keep it, you're going to have to pay $12,500 in additional tax. I mean, think about that. $12,500 in additional tax just because your property value went up, because you were fortunate to build in an area where other people wanted to build, and they're willing to pay now. Well, they're willing to pay a little bit more for a house.
I would tell you, if that happens, I will be buying a rather large RV. And I will be staying at these RV resorts all over the country, and me and my kids are going to be homeschooled.
If they exist.
Oh, they
because now their value goes up, and they can't afford to pay the taxes on those values, or you wouldn't be able to pay afford the lot.
I'm just telling you.
And then you have to pay on your RV. What's your RV worth now? Because everybody wants an RV.
I'll buy a piece of land out in the middle of the desert that I call my home, and then I'll just park there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you have to be in the middle of nowhere. Around no one. And this is the craziness that they don't put any thought into this. What they do is that they think
it's fed by greed. Somebody is benefiting either in industry or business. In other words, say you get that tax, right? So let's say that unrealized earnings, you're going to have to pay $12,000. Well, I'm not ready for that. Let me go take a home equity loan to pay this at 12% interest, and the home equity loan folks are raking in the dough on these.
It's not just that. It's going to be the corporate. It's going to be the established corporate entities that are going to buy these. They're going. I'm going to have, like, if our business, if our little old business. What do you usually calculate? What is it like 3 times earnings or 5 times earnings or something like that?
The value, 3 times to 5 times to value a business.
Yeah. So if I have my earnings come in, or my revenue comes in, and let's say I had revenue on a small business of $50,000.
Your business would be worth $150,000 plus the value of the assets.
Right. So now if I go up next year, the value of my business can go, if I get just another $25,000, right, I'm going to go up 75,000. Right. So my year over year increase it's going to be into the point where it's going to now we have to pay on 70. We have to pay on that 75,000.
If you're a small business, you should be focused on making enough money to pay your employees and keep them paid, so that you don't have to send them somewhere else. And instead
now I'm paying on the value of my business, not on what I actually made in the business.
That's right.
Right. I'm paying both.
So don't make any money.
But I can't make if I make no money. But my value
make no money is finish at zero and any.
But it's on revenue. Your value is based on your revenue. So I can make a lot of money and have a lot of employees make $0 because I paid out my money to my employees and my vendors.
It's
and
based after expenses. The valuation of your business is after expenses.
Well, but at the end of the year your cost to run the business is greater than your earnings, then you didn't make any money. It only affects the earned money over expenses. So in other words, a non-taxable expense is obviously payroll, right? Right.
If I pay taxes on this property,
except you pay taxes on payroll because you pay payroll taxes.
Well, right. So, but it is an expense of the business. So if I paid out $50,000 in payroll and I only made $50,000, my business didn't make any money. There is no value to the business other than I am providing jobs for the community.
Yeah.
And
but there's absolutely no reason to ever do that in business.
No, there isn't. And
because there has to be a benefit to the business owner for the business owner to have the drive to stay in it.
That's why they say that some people buy a job. Some people buy a business to have a job because they love what they do.
That's fine. But they have to make money to survive off of that.
100% agree.
And that's all considered.
But if I'm paying myself in the business as a salary, and I'm part of the salary deduction, then they are getting paid by the business, and it's done before. It depends on how you file. But if you're a
sole proprietor,
that's a whole different ballgame. But it's the C corps and S corps.
Yeah. So, but even looking at that now, I'm taking that still doesn't remove all the value from the business.
No, because if I paid myself a salary at the end of the year, then the business would have showed some type of earning if you had enough to pay.
Yeah. So either way, you're showing earnings at the end of the year.
Of some
sole proprietorships, you show it at the end of the year. You pay your self-employment and blah 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 tax, all that out.
Again, I'm not an accountant, but these are tax laws that if done properly. Deductions are important, and you need to make sure that you're managing that part. But I mean, yes, every bit. If I'm not going to mind paying X number of dollars if I knew we were making $1 bajillion a year. You know what I mean?
And I don't mind paying my taxes on what I make.
No, that's right.
Right.
But don't tax me so difficultly, or so intrusive that I can't see light at the end of the tunnel. And it's a constant struggle to even see those earnings. I want to profit so that I can grow the company. But if you're going to take my unrealized earnings and spend it for me so that I can't make a plan, then to reinvest that. It's like when Donald Trump had office, and the number of companies that gave people raises and encouraged, we had a super sustainment of employee rates and then growth in jobs because employers were willing to hire people and pay them more because they were getting tax breaks. You know what I mean? They weren't having to go after that. Now that's about to end. All of those tax breaks that came out are about to end. And if our legislature doesn't...
I heard it this morning. They said that under the Trump tax cuts that are getting ready to expire, if they expire, then they will. It will actually be a family making less than $100,000 a year. Actually, less than $50,000 a year. They had a 16% pay cut. Their taxes will go up 16%. Then up to 100,000 or something like that.
Plus the 1% Brandenburg can give you that.
And then 1%, yeah. If you work in work in a city or something like that, then it's going to go more. But
20 in Kentucky that'd be 5% on top of that, and if so that's another 21% of your income is going to go into taxes.
And so you go into and if you made over $100,000, if you made up to $100,000 a year, I believe the number was like a 17%, and then it kind of goes from there. It's like, and it's like, these are what normal Americans make. These are, this is, we're not talking about $25,000 a year.
$10,500 of a $50,000 salary would go towards taxes in Kentucky, just right off the top. So you're making
if those expire.
Yeah, if those expire. So essentially, if your family working 2 jobs is making $50,000 a year, you are realistically making $35,000. $35,000.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? So so $35,000, and if you take that by 12 months. And you live in Meade County, and that's $2,916 a month. If that's all you have to live on, assume after taxes. So that $2,916 a month would have to pay for your car, your fuel, and oh, by the way, if you're driving, X number of gallons a month in fuel at the $3 at the I'd say $3.50 rate.
It's $2.99 or something like that right now.
Even if you use 150 gallons worth of fuel times, I'll do be nice $3.25 a month in fuel average. You're spending $487 of that $2,900 on fuel a month, unrealized because you just go pay for it at the pump. But how many of them are going to be in further debt and credit card debt and everything else? Yeah,
all of them.
Mm-hmm. And right now there was a study about the credit card debt in America. Oh my gosh, it looks like the daggone government's credit card debt. But credit card debt is in the trillions. Debt in America today. 10bet said, I don't want the 10bet. What is it? Says, I know this was out not too long ago. Of course, it's going to give me how to get rid of your credit card debt.
That's why I use DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, I should start using it. $1.14 trillion. According to two sources. The most recent data from the Federal Reserve reveals that credit card debt sites at $1.14 trillion, yes, that's T, in Q2 2024, a meaningful increase compared to the country's pre-pandemic credit card debt of $927 billion. So consumers collectively owe a record $1.14 trillion in credit card debt. That is absurd.
Absurd.
Well, hey, we got some things coming up.
Yeah, we do. So
Lincoln Day, you'll see it for the next 4 weeks in the Messenger, but it's the Lincoln Day dinner is coming up. It's going to be in September, right?
It's going to be September 26th. Mm-hmm. It's going to be out at the fairgrounds at the Home and Garden Building.
Yeah.
The speaker lineup is still being tweaked a little bit, but you'll definitely hear from Representative Nancy Tate, Steve Meredith. We may have a representative from Rand Paul and Brett Guthrie, as well as we're still working on getting another special speaker in there for that.
No, just kidding. Y'all hear me enough.
And so that's going to be tickets are available. If you want to call 270-945-3418. We will get you. We can get you on the list for the tickets.
Yep.
Tickets are $35 each, or and a table of 8 is eight tickets. If you want to sponsor the event or what have you, we have different sponsor rates and things, and it allows you to be a part of the organization and such. So it'll be it's a couple perks in there for that, but. If you want to give us a call, 270-945-3418, we'd gladly set you up with a ticket.
Yep.
And
we're less than 90 days out from the election.
The
if you would
election
like to
is
get your
hot and heavy.
signs, hats,
We have-
T-shirts, logo, whatever.
Yep. So we have
Swag.
Trump. We have Trump swag. That we have our 2nd district, our Meade County team here. Shirts like this are like $10. We have Trump shirts and Trump hats. You can see like this one here. This is something like this is like $20. And that all goes to help pay for the campaign. We have yard signs. We have road signs for Trump Vance. Then those the prices are pretty reasonable. $10 for a yard sign. And the monies that we collect for these things just help us maintain these national campaigns
And local.
and local, so that we can do something more locally. The national campaigns don't have a fund that we can all reach into to buy signs and get signs from. So what we have to do is we end up having to go and purchase those signs ourselves. And so we just need some help paying for those things. But we appreciate you guys coming out.
Supporting local, Nancy Tate, first fundraiser, the 11th of September. You can stop by and support her at the Backstreet Cafe in Muldra, Kentucky.
Just a week away.
It is, and it's in the evening there. And we're working to lock in an October date for hopefully her other fundraiser. And we're looking to get, those military people that have concerns about local, state level politics. So we're trying to book the VFW for that one. And, working with her campaign this year. It's exciting. So that's been very busy.
Yep. So the regular Republican Party meeting is this Monday. I believe it's this Monday. What is today?
Today is Thursday.
It's a week from Monday.
Week from Monday.
So a week from Monday will be our next regular Republican Party meeting. That's going to be out at the 2714 Brandenburg Road out in Brandenburg Station. And come out, talk to us, meet us.
Yep.
We can always use all the help we can get. We're looking for people who might want to, take leadership roles in the local party here in the near future. So come out and visit with us. Let us know if you're interested.
Yeah, don't sit at home saying, this was a great conversation the other day. Somebody's beating somebody in the polls. I just stay at home. No, you got to go vote.
You got to go vote.
And you got to show up. If you care about, I'm a Republican, I vote Republican. Well, show up to these meetings, get involved, get to know the other Republicans in the community, and share your ideas.
Help us get the message out.
Absolutely.
And so that's what we're looking for. So that's all we have for today. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll get to see you hopefully next week. We'll get on a regular schedule again. I kind of liked the mid-afternoon today. Oh, it's so good to be back. I know we jumped this around a little bit. It's usually just because of our schedules. Mm-hmm. This time it was my healing schedule that kind of pushed us out to today, but I'm glad that we were able to do so, and good to be back in the studio.
Well, you look good, man.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. God bless.
Good.